What is up? It is January the 24th, 1730 UTC. It is Moon Monday. Welcome, Kathy. We'll get a few people in here in a moment. There is Christine. There is Scroop. I've got Christine in here. I leave for a week. What did y'all do to the market? Goodness gracious. Jeez. Thought I left the market in good hands. And this is the way you guys keep nice things? All right, guys, as everybody is kind of filing in and, ready to listen in, if you can hit that tweet button at the bottom right-hand corner and share this room, let's get as many people in here as possible because we're talking about the markets today, and you can see the title of the space is this the bottom? And let me bring Hawk up here. Yeah,
hold on. I'm sorry. Before we cut you off,
yeah, what's up?
It's so good to hear your voice, bro. I know you've been on vacation with the family and all that, but bro, thanks for coming back.
Hey, I appreciate you saying that. I do. So I took a week off, and we've had this scheduled for some time, and I made my way to Orlando, went over to Florida, and took in some Disney. It was the first flights for my two boys, and they're one's 4, one's 7, so they're pretty young. But yeah, we got to. I'm kind of a Star Wars nerd. Got to go to Galaxy's Edge and Disney, and I built a lightsaber, and it was a lot of fun.
Those lightsabers I built two of them. One for me and one for my daughter. It's so cool. I feel like Star Wars is one of the best like attractions for me in Disney because I like Star Wars also. So that right there is like you feel like a whole kid again. I have more fun than my kids have fun. Like honestly.
I completely agree. And what's amazing, if they just know how to do it at Disney, it's not like when you go into that portion of the park, you see Star Wars logos everywhere, or you see, just in your face branding. No, they try to make it feel like you're on a Star Wars planet. So there's not a lot of branding or anything like that. It really is like an immersive experience. And just like you said, the lightsaber building, they just do such a good job of making you feel like you're really in there doing something.
I'll tell you one thing about Disney, their marketing is like of none other because as soon as you get off a ride, you end up in the store every time.
Yeah, they know what they know what they're doing. I kept my eyes peeled for some sort of metaverse NFT type of collaboration, or maybe even VV, which I know has some Marvel at least stuff with it, and I believe some Disney things as well, but didn't see anything quite about that. But yeah, I spent my week out there. And I am back. And when I left, the markets were kind of sideways, and I haven't kept up at all. How are they looking now?
Crypt,
it's not looking good.
Yeah, Crypt, I have to say I'm happy to see DeFi back, man. I was a poor man's DeFi, and I'm sure I made him look really good as a narrator of the spaces for us. So I appreciate DeFi being back more so than maybe anybody.
I think we gonna have to fight for that one.
Well, that's funny. And Hawk, I appreciate you filling in. Christine, I know you filled.
Hawk did a fucking wonderful
Hawk
job.
Killed
bro.
it. Good job, Hawk.
Yeah, I was about to say. I'm not going to.
I appreciate you guys jumping in and adding. That last day, I had to. I was kind of on mute. They're like, "Where's the moderator?" And I texted Christine on the back. I can't talk right now, guys. But the conversations were fantastic.
Well, so we had the last day. We had the nudies up, right? And I was like, Christine, I know, Voice DeFi be happy with us because we killed this one.
Yeah, it was great.
I heard you guys had a pretty big room with the nudies, so yeah, I wish I could have heard that. Of course, I know it's recorded, so I need to go check that out now that we got our fancy record button. feel like Christine in here having a record button, but now I think everybody's in there. But how are you, Christine? How are you handling these down markets? Are you keeping your head up, or are you all putting everything into puts?
Just gambling it away in Vegas.
Yeah, so I'm actually leaving Vegas right now, on my way out. But I woke up today to the stock markets. My portfolio was looking awesome just because I had taken a cash position because I saw that the markets seemed to be, I'd hate to say the word crashing, but not doing so well. So I took puts last week into March just in case to give me some time. And I'm doing really good, thank God. As far as crypto, I have no idea. Like, I'm looking for the bottom here, and I know this is what we're going to talk about.
But I think your story of through puts you've been able to still make money is, I think you have to be more selective now, stock and crypto. But there are opportunities there. I don't think we can just have this blanket. There's no money to be made. There is money to be made. It's just there's a lot of money to be lost at the same time in a market like this.
And I
Yeah,
do have to say, DeFi, that with Traderverse, we are launching our takeoff token shortly, and we were waiting for this, right? We are looking at market sentiment, overall market analysis on the crypto markets, and if we would have launched our token 2 months ago on the poly chain, Matic, went from about 230 to in the 130. So now is getting close to the time that we are looking to launch that near the bottom. So we're monitoring this very, very closely, and I think it's going to be beneficial. We didn't want to put out our token at the tops, right, and then everybody get rugged. We're very conscientious of the overall market sentiment and the crypto market as a whole. So
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah,
I'm glad
delaying it has been it will be fruitful.
I think it's going to pay off because I was going to even ask you about that privately. About is the top of the market a bad time to launch takeoff token, and now they've seen kind of this pretty severe dip. I think it'll be good because you're right, you don't want to release it at the top and all of a sudden Matic goes down 50%, and everybody's like, oh no, now all the projects that launched at that high point are dead in the water. So I think the delay ends up being very what am I trying to say, precise with timing of what we need to do.
Yeah. Our first and foremost objective is make sure that our token holders are safe, right? We have built-in things in our smart contract to protect, major rug pulls and things like that. But overall, we would have been ready 2 months ago, 3 months ago, but we are just closely monitoring this because our first priority is our token holders.
For sure. Well, it's an exciting time for sure for the launch of Traderverse. I think everybody's excited to see the platform, and then everybody's excited to see the takeoff token and how it performs as well. I think any token that comes out during a lull in the market like this has really said, like, hey, we're here. This is a long-term project. This isn't a pump and dump, anything like that. And certainly with as often as we are on here on Spaces and as transparent as Traderverse has been, I don't think anybody would think anything about that. But if for some reason you haven't already, but the account that I'm speaking from, Traderverse IO, at Traderverse IO, make sure you give it a follow so you can see right when the takeoff token is launched, as well as you can see the platform. Traderverse will be a soon to be launched social media network, helpful with analysis, so many different things, and you can learn about that here as well. So there is money to be made in this market. We've determined that, but there's also money to be lost in this market, crypto and stocks. So what can we do to avoid it, and also to avoid the losing of our funds? But also, is this the bottom? We've seen it dip down. It's kind of stayed a little bit, steady. Is Bitcoin, and I'll just use Bitcoin as an example because everything else seems to follow. Is it through making its plunge, or is it going to stay here for a little bit and we've got one more? I've seen some people say it could go low as 20 even, which is insane to think about, that it could go that low. But if it does, are we prepared for that? Do you guys think we've seen the bottom, or is this just a pause before we continue to go down?
I hate to be the bearer of bad news or whatever, but I could see Bitcoin going even down to 15 because it has pretty strong support there. I don't want it to go down to 15, but I mean, if we're just looking at charts, right? And then Scrupula was looking at the charts for Ethereum, and he was like, it shouldn't break. What were you saying, Scrupula? It shouldn't break 25, but if it does, then oh my God.
Yeah, when looking at the charts, there's some massive resistance, and if it broke those, it was gonna keep on going down. It was almost inevitable. The first one was around the 2600 mark. Once it broke that, or sorry, the first one was around the 2800 mark. Once it broke that, I thought it would be a quick free fall down to 2400, which it did. It took about 4 or 5 hours to do so. Went down to 24, tested that, bounced right off of that, back up to like 25. But then once I thought it broke 4, I could see it going down to 17, which is pretty much the biggest resistance and support right now for Ethereum. And it looks like we're on our way towards that. I wouldn't be surprised with FOMC happening tomorrow and Wednesday, what the Fed decides to come out and do. I imagine that they are going to be not specific on making an announcement on anything. And we might have to wait until the March FOMC to really get an idea of where the U.S. stands with crypto. And I could see it's there. I'm an ETH maxi. I base everything off of ETH. So I could see ETH going down possibly to the 1700 and that 1700 mark.
Which is insane. And then
1500, watch.
Yeah, and
it would take a lot to get to 15, but that 17 is really where it's at. If it breaks that 17, watch out.
Scroop, you can consider yourself a technical trader? Because I hear you talking a lot about support and resistance, but then I also hear you talking about FOMC and a lot of fundamental movers. Are you just a hybrid?
You have to be a hybrid. I mean, if you go just off of pure technicals, you're going to get yourself screwed. You're going to win some, and you're also going to lose some. It's also risk tolerance, but the market itself is made up of so many variables that you can't just go off of one technical analysis or one TA. Right. I mean, you can do what's good for your game plan, but as far as the market moving as a whole, you can't just use one TA or a couple TAs to see what's gonna transpire in the future.
Do you guys have a plan of what, okay, so Scroop just has his own personal, he thinks it could go down, even Ethereum, he could see 1700 or lower. Cryptkeeper just said 1500. Do you guys have a plan where, if it goes down to this, I'm buying? Or are you going to stair step some buys as it goes down? Or are you just saying you're staying out of the market when it's like this? How do you guys play this?
I'm pulling out a whole bag. I'm pulling out a bag, going to the bank.
Yeah, I stair step down. I bought just because, again, you don't know what's going to happen once it tests the resistance. So I bought some at 28 a little bit, and then I bought quite a bit at 24. And then if it does hit the
2000.
2K, Christine loves her 2K. Yeah, if it hits the 1800 range, because I'm not going to try to see where the bottom is on that. If it does hit the 1800 range, then I'll be buying quite a bit.
Yeah, he's going to be buying a Bored Ape.
Yes, bro. To me, it sounds like sub 2000 is the big no.
On sale right now. Everything you can buy Bored Ape for half the price.
Half the price, guys.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah, half the price. So all that wishing of having a Bored Ape, it's coming to fruition. I do think that we always see a pattern where the markets take a dive, whether it's crypto, the stocks is doing really bad, but crypto, we saw this in 2015, 2016, and then everyone freaks out and it does take a major dive, and then it rips to all-time highs, new all-time highs. What do you guys think? Do you guys think it's going to happen again?
I think if it rips, it's going to go past 5K.
Yeah, I would agree on that.
But I do think that the waiting game is always longer than we think it'll be. As far as how long does this dip stay down? Is it a month or is it 2 years? And sometimes I think it ends up being a little long. It's like we're bullish in the fact that we think the bearish times are small and tiny. And to me, that's always. I think it's just because we want that nice, bull run market. It's so much more fun. It's even on these spaces. There's a lot more for us to talk about, that sort of thing. But in this time, I always get worried about people trying to get back at the market, of make up for their losses, and that can really screw with you mentally to where you can lose a lot like that.
I do want to touch on something had happened yesterday, and I was asking Scroop to explain it to me because I didn't understand how this happened. Scroop, can you go into that whole thing that happened with OpenSea and Ethereum and the sniping of Bored Apes and Doodles?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so basically, OK Hotshot put out a good thread on it. He did his technical analysis, and what he does. He spent about an hour going through it all and wrote a thread. So just to put it in simple terms, most people or a lot of people back then that had apes had a price that they're going to sell it out. Let's say 6 ETH, 8 ETH, whatever, etc. They also put it on different platforms to sell. The Vault, and this one specifically is with the Vault. So it's not OpenSea, and even the person who lost their apes came out and they admitted that it was more so their fault on the Vault and not OpenSea. But there is a little bit of a backdoor that could happen. And this has been known since the beginning of this month. So I personally don't feel bad for people who are getting taken advantage of with this, because they have had enough time to remedy the situation and close the back door. But basically, let's say you had a Bored Ape months ago, and you go, you know what? I need to cash out. If I'm going to list it at 8 ETH, and you go, all right, that's good for me, and you put it through the Vault or you put it through OpenSea. Then you go, oh shoot, this is skyrocketing. Let me delist this. But in order to delist it, it's going to cost you a lot of money to do so. So what these people were doing were they were trying to play the system, and instead of dealing it, they were transferring it to a different wallet. And by that nature, OpenSea would show that it's technically not for sale because it's now in a different owner's wallet, and that wallet would have to sign off on the listing price. However, for Rarible and the Vault, it's still showing up on their end because it's technically still on the blockchain at that price listed. So as time goes on, fast forward to now, someone like JPEG Degenerate went in, saw all of the ones that were listed on the Vault, even Crypto Moris and even Cool Cats. And what they did is they took about 3 ETH. They sniped Cool Cat for 3 ETH, I believe it was, sold that for 6 ETH or 7 ETH, and then sniped Bored Ape for 6.6 ETH, and then sold that for like 60 ETH. He basically utilized the listings that were on the Vault and the Rarible to grab those NFTs off of the market and then list them back himself on OpenSea to sell.
I can't even imagine grabbing a Bored Ape for 6 ETH. That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's still happening today because I've seen a couple people post this morning that their mutant apes got sniped overnight. So it's still happening.
It's still happening. Yeah. Well, Dre, that's from the same person, the JPEG Degen, and he's actually given back some. I think he gave back 35 ETH, but he still came up, if you want to say. And
yeah,
so these are old listings that was never taken down.
Correct.
Yeah,
These are old listings that weren't taken down. They didn't want to get taken down because the owner didn't want to pay the fee to get it taken down and tried to play the system and
so that's his fault then.
Wallet.
So save a little bit, and in their efforts of trying to save, they left open a security loophole to where somebody could buy from not OpenSea, but from another site that it's still there. It's still on the blockchain, right? So they can still get it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so technically, who's to blame on this? Like, do people look down on JPEG Degenerate for just knowing the system? Is he a bad guy? Like, I was just.
Well, if also there's another person, I don't know if you know Bored Ape Space, he did the same thing, and he came out and he asked, "Was this right by the community?" And he was getting a lot of flack because everyone's like, "Well, you have a Bored Ape. Why are you doing this to the Bored Ape community?" He basically sniped another Bored Ape, and his mentality was, "Look, if someone put something up, like let's say Dre, let's say you have your Hape and you fat finger, and instead of putting 7.8 ETH that you want to sell that, you put 0.78 ETH, and you mess up and someone snipes that, who are we blaming? We're going to blame you because it's a blockchain, right? So like anything that's done on the blockchain, and we've heard it multiple times, currently until this gets centralized to some degree or some protection, you are your own bank. You are responsible for your own property, your own assets. And if you make a mistake or you want to try to play some loophole game, that is on you. And if you get taken advantage of, there's no recourse. There's no one that's going to say, you know what, let's go ahead and let's get that ape back for you.
But what if somebody would just went to this other site and just bought it legitly? In other words, they saw it on the other site. They saw it's for sale. They said, oh, that's cheap. I should buy it there. And then, so it doesn't have to be unscrupulous. It doesn't have to be, bad intentions.
Yeah, because I was thinking to myself, is like, what if I was on one of those sites and I just bought one and I was like, oh, hey, look, what is this? Maybe if somebody just fat fingered and I took advantage of the fat finger, which, I mean, it happened in Hate Beast a ton. I just seen one this morning that sold for 0.75. I was like, what?
0.75?
Yep. He obviously fat fingered because the floor was 7.5. And if you look at it, he sold or took a bid for 0.75. So he must have not just been paying attention and just sold it.
I think I would buy that. and I wouldn't worry about community retaliation, because if I don't buy it, Christine's going to buy it or somebody else is going to buy it. I mean,
Exactly.
it's going to happen.
I
It's
absolutely
just part
would
of
have bought it.
Of
Like if I saw that, and I would have no regrets. I'd be like, I'm sorry. Like, what do you mean you
Mhm.
fat fingered that and you didn't mean to sell it at 0.75? Like, I'm sorry. Like, pay attention next time. Thank you.
Yeah, like I said,
Actually, I looked it up, Dre. It's looks like it was put a wrapped ETH offer of 0.0699, and it was taken.
Yeah. So how do you like? Did
He
did
hacked it.
somebody fat finger that, or you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, did they mean to decline that, and then do you reach out and be like, "Yo, I didn't mean to sell it to you." Well, sorry.
Yes.
yeah, too bad, so sad for sure. Terrible
Shout
father.
out to,
Terrible
Glad you're
father.
here
shout out
sometime.
to all the fat fingers.
Yeah. If you have a fat finger, please add us as a friend. Terrible father, what's up? Your hand is up.
Hey, yeah. Sorry if I start breaking up in a bad area, but this everybody keeps saying it's a bug or a vulnerability. It's just the way that it works. I mean, it already happened with the Funks. The Funks a month and a half ago. The Funks got delisted from OpenSea because the lab petitioned it. That is basically copyright infringement. But all those listings that were still there were able to be sniped off, even though they weren't even allowed to list. They just existed in the space, and people were able to backdoor it through contracts. So it's all about understanding, and all these communities that don't even understand need to educate the people in their community. The way I look at it is you're basically on OpenSea with with your goods up for auction, or like you're holding up one of those signs with the numbers on it, and you basically put it on your seat with it still holding up, and you, even though you transferred it to another wallet, that sign's still being held up. So once you take your seat, you're still like bidding.
So, in your
So
mind, is there not a way to fix it? It's not like we need to look for a fix somehow on this. This is just the way it is.
Yep.
I mean, that
So
has to do with their protocol and their process and how they can work with smart contracts and wallets. And like somebody had just mentioned, like, well, what if you sell it somewhere else and then bring it back on the platform? It shouldn't be an issue because you're not going to put it back into that original wallet with that permission granted if you buy it from somewhere else. So that shouldn't be an issue. It's just understanding that these guys are performing intense protocols with very little contract or contract language behind it. So you have to learn what the protocol is. I think it speaks more to education about everything and getting your community
so if I
educated
grabbed
as
a
much as
board
possible.
ape, if I grabbed a board ape for 6 ETH, would you guys hate me?
No, I would clap for you, dude. I mean, that's just part of the game, and like Turbo said, this has been going on for a while. So the fact that it's happened to some bored apes or some cool cats is, I guess, I don't know what the right word for it is, but those communities should be looking out for each other, and they have a strong community. So the fact that that happened to them, it's almost like, I don't want to say it's their fault, but it is their fault. They've had enough time. People have talked about this before. So if they didn't do their due diligence with the month lead time to go back to their listings and make sure everything was closed out, that's kind of their fault.
Yeah, it's just laziness.
You can't fat finger things like that. There's been a few times in my life, selling of a house or something like that, where I'm holding a check that is worth, a few $100,000, right? So it's a lot. And I take care of it. I do whatever I can do to look after that check, right? Because it's worth a lot of money. And to me, if you own a Bored Ape, it's got to be the same level of care of just anything that you do, that I've got to make sure that there's nothing. Now, granted, maybe they weren't aware of it and now they are, but it's going to be stories like this that's going to make everybody else aware of it. Is okay. Don't try to save a little money, trying to get around fees or whatever, because it could open yourself up.
I know gas has been pretty low the last like week or two. I mean, they should have been gone back and delisted every listing that they have.
So I want to bring up something. Whenever we first started Traderverse, the spaces in here, we had, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Turbo from from his project, but somebody had thrown out the idea that whenever the market does go down, that the NFT space may be a good place to hold your value, hold your wealth. Thinking that would almost be like the new stable coin was the NFT marketplace. And now that we've seen the market go down, I don't think we've seen that. We've seen the NFT space go down just, I don't know, is it about the same percentage probably that ETH has went down as well? So is there some people that have done just as he had suggested? And I don't remember if that's who it was or not, so don't send him any hate mail. But yeah, do you think anybody has lost quite a bit of their value because they put all of their assets into NFTs?
Well, that's definitely happening. I mean, I would be the one to say it's happened to me personally. I mean, I've even my first couple months in the NFT space, when I did SOS, I seen that I spent 15 ETH. I was like, holy shit. And I went back in my wallet and I'm like, well, where is it? You know, like what I got all these dead projects in here, like, you know, then it's not like you can sell for what you even minted at. You know, those projects, if they go down below mint price, you're just kind of stuck there. Either you hold or you sell for a loss. You know, you're kind of stuck in that space. But even for like a good example of recently is Hate Beast. I bought mine at 6.4, which was 20 grand. And if you look at 6.4 now, it's what, like 15, I think, or you know, around there. So if you look at it, it's like, oh man. So essentially I thought the hate floor would go up because people are like, oh yeah, I spent 20 grand on this, well, I'm going to list it for what's equivalent to 20 grand. But people aren't looking at it in the dollar aspect, they're looking at it in the ETH aspect.
Which is, I feel like that's more of an advanced trader, an advanced crypto or NFT traders when you start just looking at things in terms of ETH. Because whenever you first start, you look at everything in terms of US dollar amount, right? Everything is,
Yeah.
oh, that's worth $1,000, that's worth $4,000. And eventually you're like, oh, it's worth 2 ETH. And you don't even look at what the conversion would be. So that's a little bit of progressing of the space, I think. I think it's good in this case as you're looking like, how's my portfolio doing? Keep
Yeah.
that in mind that it's worth a lot less now.
Yeah, and then when I look at it too, I'm like, okay, well, until I bought this one, before I never really compared dollar to USD. I was just like, and we'd be in the space, oh, guys, this is 0.3 floor right now, go buy it. Okay, 0.3, that's all we're just thinking, 0.3, 0.51 ETH, 2 ETH. But now I did a big buy. I was like, oh, 6.5. All right, what is that equivalent to? What did I just spend? And then you look at it, it's like, oh, okay, you know, and now I can only imagine the Bored Ape guys. I would have thought they were all selling at 300K. Their people's listings would go up, you know, as far as ETH wise, because they're like, well, everybody was selling at 300K a couple weeks ago. You know, should we keep our floor price up? You know, or you know, they're just kind of looking at it in that aspect.
For sure. What's up, Terrible? You had your hand up again.
Yeah, I think it's weird. A different way to look at it is how the NFT marketplace has gotten, yet all this liquidity is leaving the market. So I think a lot of projects are taking profits in fiat. I mean, there should have been enough volume in the NFT marketplace alone to sustain a floor much higher than what we're at now. So I'm hopeful that people are going to start asking their commute or respective projects, like, what value can you bring to me in the crypto market? Not throwing like real world parties and things like that. What actual
Yeah,
crypto?
yeah, benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a great point. I feel like whenever the market is down, it's whenever the market kind of looks itself over and says, like, what do we need to improve out of this? And maybe it is looking back at, I mean, Purple Father, maybe I don't know if I'm putting this into the wrong words, but are you saying we need to look for more utility with the NFTs and just maybe even just crypto projects in general? Like they need to have some amount of utility going forward?
Well, not even just utility. So like DeFi projects, one of the like telltale signs is how a developer's wallet is locked. So is the project wallet going to be locked and sustained within crypto? Are there protocols that can be formed around that? If there is any utility or parties per se or exclusive clubs, can they just be on Discord where it's free barrier to entrance or in the metaverse?
yeah, I
Merges
agree.
on the metaverse?
Instead of spending $100,000 on an event in real life, that could be built to utility to the project. And I definitely have been seeing that when I see roadmaps now, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna hold IRL events and this and that. Like after I went to my first IRL event for an NFT project, I was like, but this was a waste of money. You know, I literally sat there bored for 4 or 5 hours, and I brought my girlfriend with me, and she's sitting there like, oh, can we go? Like, this is such a waste of time, you know? And it's like, I get the networking aspect of it. You get to meet other people, but like you said, that can be done over Discord. That could be done in spaces, you know, or however, many different aspects.
So do you appreciate the projects more where it's more DAO based, in which, you know, you own an NFT per se and you have decision making powers of the future decisions of that project overall? Is that something that you look for more so than a social event?
Definitely now. Definitely.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. I
I'll
don't
be
look at. Go
I'll
ahead.
play devil's advocate on that though. It depends on the project with the DAO Hawk, because I'm still on the mantra that I've heard in a lot of other spaces that most people don't understand business and don't understand how to grow a business, and therefore, if you're gonna have a majority of them, like let's say some random person, let's say Dre drops in like, I don't know, a bunch of ETH and gets up 10% of a project at mint, you know, and then they go, okay, well, let's open up to the DAO and let's voice our opinions on what we want to do next. And Dre's like, you know what? Let's just buy a yacht. Let's just do this. I vote for this. You know?
I do agree with you in that, but I think there are projects that, it's not necessarily a business decision in which, is going to affect the, one of the revenue verticals of the company, but, what feature would you like released next? That type of decision, or, what would you like to see as far as a feature that we aren't providing? Something like that, right?
I'll totally buy a yacht. No, I'm just kidding.
Group you've been consistent on this. Anytime we bring up DAOs, you said something similar to what you just said, of basically groupthink is kind of, I don't want to say the enemy, but like whenever we're looking at a chart and we're reading a chart and we're looking at the psychology of people in the chart, we're kind of trying to bet against what the group think is, because the thought, the process is that, group think is usually wrong. So I understand what Hawk is saying, and that I do want things that are a little more community led, but community can also lead in a bad way. We talked the other day about the football team that even plays were going to be given by a DAO, basically, or it was going to have voting for the football plays. And we said, could that team beat a Bill Belichick coach team, somebody that was, good at that? And the answer was probably no. So we obviously don't want to see bad money being spent over in real life events or, a yacht or whatever, if the money isn't there to be done. But I don't know that a DAO is always the answer either.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And I don't want to come out, and I don't want to seem like I'm totally against DAOs, because I have seen them work. We know so far that the SOS DAO with 9x9x9 has been doing well when they voted on how they wanted to implement protocols recently. It just depends on the people that are in the project. That's literally what it comes down to. Is there an acumen within a majority of the people within the project, or is it Feyweather NFT holders, mostly flippers, etc., that may have a say? And the other one thing I want to that I also caution against until we get a better understanding of DAOs working and their implementation, because it seems like a lot of people just throw the word DAO out there, is there this concern or this risk where you start to give masses a voice, and then all of a sudden some groups in that voice don't get their voice heard, and they get upset, and then they start to FUD the project or start to badmouth it, etc., because they had a better idea and it didn't get heard because they didn't own enough of the project, etc.
Now, screw like the United States of America, and whenever one election goes against what the other half thinks it should go, we all get on the same page and we all get along after that, right?
I was in one project where it was actually you guys remember the baby apes or low baby apes, that project? So they split into two groups, and basically one project that said that they were the original that actually got taken down, that community came together, started a DAO, and they started their own project now called Jungle Bay. But I was actually one of the ones that invested in them starting the whole DAO and getting the whole project up. So which then they gave 100 people the opportunity to buy into what they called gold tier. And then from the gold tier, you got to vote on the direction of the project as far as the art, the name, mint price, things like that. So we all got to go on and vote, and kind of how many, like Script was saying, how many little baby apes you held kind of configured how many votes that you had, which had significance if somebody had 10 or 15 or 20 of them. So that vote alone kind of took precedence. So when people like me, I had two of them, and I came and I was looking at the vote percentages. It's like, 70% voted for this, but truly it was probably like 3 or 4 people that voted for that because they had so many. So essentially it could negatively affect the project if that person has their own agenda also.
Right. It goes back to whoever has the most money has the bigger voice.
We just hope that the people that own the majority of it will make good decisions for the community.
Right. I mean, for me, I like to feel important, right? I feel like I like my voice heard when I'm involved in a project. Not necessarily, and I may be different from many, but I'm not in it to be in a exclusive Discord where I have 10,000 virtual friends. I always say I have enough friends already. I don't need 10,000 more. But I like to be involved in some of, just feel important in some of that decision making in the process, whatever it may be in that company. It's not, hey, this is your revenue model, this is the way we should go, but maybe a feature release or something like that where I have, my voice is heard on some type of input.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if I think the thought is that if we at least feel like we are a part of the decision-making process, even if it's a small part, it does give us a better sense of inclusion. Terrible Father, you're so polite whenever you raise your hand up. Every one of us are just like, hey, listen to me. It's time for me to talk. But Terrible Father raises his hand, so I appreciate it. What's up?
No worries. I mean, like if it's all about responsible liquidation, and even the choices that are put into a DAO or community, if one is just totally irresponsible, like buying a yacht and doesn't bring it could be marketing. You could always say it's marketing, but what percentage needs to go to marketing for real world adoption or to get people outside of the crypto space to you? If it's all about buying a yacht and you're going to get everybody in the space to give you their ETH so you can liquidate it, for me that'd be a problem. And if that was even up for a vote, I would slowly back away. It's all got to be about adoption, and even like responsible liquidation for holders. I hear a lot of TA all the time. I'm not a big fan of TA. I use this moment now when we're this low to remember when we do shoot up and we get back to like 60K Bitcoin, it might be time to responsibly liquidate a certain percentage of your crypto portfolio just to be able to have liquidity down here at the bottom.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, speaking of Bitcoin, did you guys see the Twitter profile pic of the president of El Salvador? He he put him, so as you know, El Salvador is definitely
I did. Voice of DeFi.
You did see it, you said?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So for those of you that haven't seen it, he put his profile pic up of him in a McDonald's uniform. So yeah, Bitcoin's took a hit, and the president of El Salvador is now in a McDonald's uniform. So I gotta like the humor. I appreciate the lightheartedness. Since would you say they adopted Bitcoin as the at the top? I mean, they adopted it certainly near the top of where the market was, and now we're near the bottom. And yeah, they've went down 30-40% probably.
I just hope that he kept some of the citizens' powder, a little bit dry for something like this and didn't go all in at the top. When you say, is this the bottom? A lot of my trading strategy, yeah, I do some day scalping when I have time, but many of those profits will scale into longer term swings for me. So I scale into stock plays or crypto plays. I'm not an all-in bottom unless I'm doing a day trade and I nail that bottom and I'm getting out of that trade in a day, but I scale in.
So Hawk, would you say your trading strategy changes whenever the market changes, or is your strategy the same across the board, up or down, just maybe your time frame changes?
I would say it stays relatively consistent, but what side of the ball am I playing on, right? I've taken some puts over the last couple weeks, which have paid out nicely, but I'll swing some of those profits into longer term stock value plays, if you want to call it that, right? And so I'm a hybrid. I do scalp some day trades, some option calls and puts, but then I use some of that into longer term value plays for myself.
Yeah, I think that's probably what makes it very difficult during these times is sometimes you do need to kind of zoom out or change the time frame that you're looking at. And for you, it sounds like you're just pretty versatile with your trading strategy. But yeah, I think of those that look at for a crypto chart or a stock chart and they're stuck on the 15-minute chart. It's hard for them to start zooming out and looking at more of a picture in a market like this. And that's always a difficult transition. Now with NFTs, I guess you could do the same thing with the floor price of something, but that NFTs are such a different game than stocks and crypto, which most of you in here are very NFT centric. I mean, I think Twitter Spaces on the whole is very NFT centric. It's one of the reasons why we talk about NFTs a lot in here. But the market still goes down for NFTs, just like it's going down for the rest of the market. So I already asked that to Scroop earlier of, what's his trading strategy during this time. Anybody else that's listening and got up here on the stage have something different they do during this market?
So my day trading strategy on a granular level, my rules stay the same, if that makes sense, right? If it's above certain levels, then I play that, with momentum. But if it's below a certain level, then I'll play the opposite side of the ball. So my rules will stay the same on these day trading scalping opportunities. But it's, just what side of the ball I play on.
Sure. And that gets into the question of, is this the bottom? Because if you are playing both sides of the ball, then, you want to know, are we still going down? And whenever I asked you guys, whenever I first got in here, y'all seem to think that this isn't the bottom, that this is a pause and we're still going to go down a little further. So if we went back up, let's say Bitcoin went up to, I don't know, 45 or something soon. Would that surprise you, or do you guys think we're going to stick around and just hang around here, and ETH is going to hang around at 2,300 for another month or so before we see any big movement up or down?
Well,
I'm not surprised at anything.
I'll just say right now, within the past 10 minutes, we saw a massive spike up for ETH, which is probably the overall market, from about
and SPY too, Scroop. I think it went from 423 to 428. And
yeah, which is insane. So
15 minutes.
right now, from looking at the chart and everything, it looks like crypto is about to test that new resistance of, like, let's say ETH right now, 2,400. It was consolidating a lot then the past couple of days. So if it breaks that could be a good sign. If it doesn't break it, then we're looking at possibly heading back down to 1,700. But as just a quick update, it looks like there was a massive spike up to try to drive a bull run, but there's some massive walls being formed. And I still think we won't see anything until Tuesday, Wednesday after FOMC.
And depending on what they decide to say. I also wanted to know, do you guys that do stocks like Hawk and Scrupula, do you guys play the Bitcoin futures or whatever?
I personally have not gotten into that. I know one of our ambassadors, Trading Collective, has played that pretty regularly.
Yeah, I have a friend who, he's very, very bearish on crypto in general, and we maintain our friendship. It's pretty hilarious because he'll give me he's like, it's going down. Did you withdraw like your crypto because it's going to zero? I don't want my friend to be poor, like whatever. So he's like, I'm really banking on these Bitcoin futures. Like, I don't understand. Like, are you guys doing that? Like, I hope you guys are doing that because it's going down to zero. I'm like, it's not going to zero. He's like, well, it's going down and I'm doing very well. And like, I've started and I haven't played the futures and I don't even know. I think it's like BITF or something. And now I'm like, maybe we should play it like just, scaling, or it's going down. It's not like we want it to go down, but, at least to resistance.
Yeah, and I would say, another thing is, technical analysis can tell you a big picture of the story, but whether it's going to break that resistance or break that support, there's multitude of factors that play into it, right? One thing that I'm excited for Tradeon, our artificial intelligence of Traderverse, for is it's going to marry technical analysis with social sentiment together, which will be a huge indicator, because if you look at these Elliott wave charts, which are all based on Fibonacci lines and different levels of support and resistance and mathematical equations, that doesn't necessarily take into consideration the social sentiment out there, which is a key factor. A lot of times it actually predicts, some of the happenings, like it predicted COVID dip before COVID, the Elliott wave did, but it's not always spot on. So I'm really excited to have a tool that will marry social sentiment with technical analysis through Tradeon.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the marrying of the social sentiment and the technical analysis, because I've asked two of you today, Scroop and Hawk, and both of you said, oh, I've got kind of a hybrid approach to how I do things, technical and fundamentals. Putting in, the social sentiment as well. Tradeon will really be able to help that. And for those of you listening that are like, well, what's Tradeon? That's going to be one of the core integral features of Traderverse, the social network platform. So yeah, again, make sure you're following my account. But having said that, the social integration to be able to see and almost kind of getting a feel for the vibe of what the crowd is thinking, to me, that will be kind of a killer feature of Traderverse for sure, that I think can change how a lot of people trade, and will probably have some strategies, wrapped around that. Whenever we're looking for, is this the bottom of the market? Now, one thing that Scroop, you said earlier was, there's some walls being formed. We could be range bound for some time, and we could just be bouncing off support and resistance, and that could go on for a long time. But that doesn't mean that there isn't strategies that might be able to make good profits off of those bouncing between the two walls. I just think we have to look for it and find it, and not lose our money and lose money on the way.
I don't know why I just got this mental picture of Austin Powers going, in between two walls, forward and reverse, like stuck into two places. But I just had to throw that out there.
That's perfect. I wish we could throw up memes or something, just like have it flash up on the screen just a moment, because that would have been a well-placed meme by you. Because yeah, that's exactly how it feels sometimes. Because even if you do just go, I think we like it better when we can make those massive profits on a giant bull run, or if you're on the short side of things, massive profits whenever the price is going down. But whenever you're just going like that Austin Powers thought, just 2 inches forward, 2 inches back, back forth, it's not as gratifying. And I think that's some of the psychology at play as well, is we want to be able to make these big moves. And sometimes even if we're winning, our psychology, our dumb little brain tells us we're not winning enough, and we start taking chances that we would rather not.
Yeah, and one strategy is you certainly can trade within daily candles of technical charts, right? I mean, if you look at some of these plays today, early this morning, they were bottomed out, right, on the daily, right? I'm not saying on for the longer term, but for instance, Upstart was at 74 this morning. It's 74, and it's at 80, almost 85 right now. So you can trade within a daily range, even if it's in an overall trend that's stuck in between, support and resistance. You can make money on trading those daily candles for sure.
Oh yeah, and those are huge, especially Hawk, when they get like a massive rise or a massive fall at open. Like if something drops 5-7% right at open, you can pretty much expect a decent bounce up. You just gotta have a high risk tolerance or do like a trailing stop just to let it go. But if something drops so much in the morning, like Pinterest or anything else you're saying now, like I was looking at Pinterest and it dropped to $28. I was like, wow, that's a lot. And right now it's at $30. So you can ride those swings intraday for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when I talk about one of my ticker that I like, Upstart Long UPST, it hit 74 this morning, right? I scooped some up, and like I said, it's at 85 today. It's still red, but I'm green on that on the day, right? So you just have to play the daily chart, daily candles, and you can make money on a ticker that appears to be red, but it's actually green in your portfolio because you caught a bottom of that range.
And when you guys are range trading like that, does your profit taking change? Do you just say, okay, it went from 74 to 84, and I should get out while the getting's good, or do you just say, okay, I'm playing with house money now?
For me, it's as long as it's over, the 20 and 9 EMA and over VWAP, I'm still in that trade. If that 1 minute candle on the daily chart drops below that, I'll get out and then maybe re-enter if it regains that.
Yeah, and if the RSI gets too high, I'm out. You could just expect it to fall.
And do you think that's a self-fulfilling prophecy with RSI? Do you think a lot of people are looking at that exact same thing, and therefore it kind of makes it, like I said, a self-fulfilling prophecy? Or is it just a good indicator for you that you like to use?
I use it as a good indicator. Like it's obviously not going to be right 100% of the time, but if something like, for example, the market this morning, RSI was super low on a lot of stuff, and then if it within a small period of time shoots up, at some point it's going to cool down. So I don't like to stay at that like at a high RSI too much, and I would just want to get out and get what I can.
And it's funny, when I'm doing some day trading, day scalping, I don't even look at RSI. So Scrooge is probably very, he's very successful at, doing that, using that method. I personally don't use it. I use the 9 EMA, the 20 EMA, and the VWAP and volume bars. So there's different strategies, right? But, there's not one way that you can say that this is successful or his is successful or one's better than the other. It's just different strategies using different indicators.
Correct. And, this gets into where like a social trading network can really help, because as Traderverse comes out, you'll be able to hear, somebody like Hawk, somebody like Screw say their different methods, and you can find one that kind of works the best for you. They both have the same goal, which is to, to be in profit, but it's completely different ways of getting there. That's not to say one's right or one's wrong, but one might be right or wrong for you. And having a social network like Traderverse will be able to allow you to see the different ways of trading, because there's plenty of beginners out there. Every time there's a bull run, we bring in a whole new mess of people, whether it be stocks or crypto, that come in that want to learn their own trading strategy. So hearing different, perspectives like this are really good, I think.
Yeah, and one of the things that we focused early on is education, right? And weekly we have different traders that are respected come into our Discord and do some live trading education. So and they all have vastly different strategies. Bentley Trading comes in on Thursday morning, and he's more of a day scalper, and he has his method, right, and teaches what his method is. On Wednesday, we have Trading Collective. He is an options player, right? And Montana Trades comes in. He's kind of a mix of both. He does day trading options. So we're not saying one style is best for the other. We just want to educate people on different methods, and they may resonate with one over the other. So we just want to educate and have people fall into their style and be supportive of what that style is and answer questions that you may have.
Yeah, I love that. Even whenever you go onto YouTube or something like that, and you're trying to find, somebody to kind of follow, you're looking to who should I really kind of take their lead from. And some people, they're definitely made for more of a beginner. And then you've got other creators that they're clearly made for, your senior expert level type of trader. And there's something for everybody. And that's what I think Traderverse is trying to do is create the content, not create the content, but create a platform for that content for both the seasoned veteran and the rookie in the space, and to try to find a trading strategy that works for you. Because just because one person, we've seen right here, two people, successful traders, just one uses RSI, the other doesn't, the other's using, EMAs, that sort of thing. There's going to be a good strategy for you that you feel like, or you might kind of try to create your own strategy and your own set of rules. But either way, I think it's so helpful to be able to hear what other people are doing and how it's working out for them.
I'm excited for it personally because I took some major losses coming down on the last bear, and that's why I actually jumped out of crypto and jumped into NFTs, which I'm glad because it pushed me to learn about the NFT world. But I took some major losses when it came down to a lot of the last time we had a big bear in the market, so I jumped away from it. So I'm excited to learn. I was literally texting Chris and Scroop in the chat, like, you guys need to teach me about puts and options and all this, because I did a really bad option call on. I think it might have been Ethereum, or I forgot exactly which one, but I ended up losing like 25K on it. And I was actually driving at the time, and whatever it was took a flat line, just straight drop, and all my options just got destroyed. And it was like, and you guys could tell, I don't know much about it because I'm probably saying the wrong analogies. So I'm excited to learn from Traderverse and Christine and Scroop. So this is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be great to be able to learn from people like them or others that aren't even in this room, both as a platform to create and as a platform to consume. And, Dre lost big money there, and yeah, he wants to be able to educate.
Dude, I lost 15 grand to Doge.
Painful.
Yeah, and I think one thing is we're taking it a step further, and we'll have a badge reward system where you'll be able to see the people that have quality content that put out good calls and things like that, in which the user will be rewarded for it. So you'll be able to, we're not judging you by the amount of followers you have. We've found that that's a skewed scale. Large follower count may mean that they have larger influence, and they may be able to front load a play and then dump it on all of their followers, right? We want people that put out quality content, and you'll be able to see the results right on our platform. So it's not going to be a smoke and mirrors game. It's going to be truly transparent in that matter.
Yep, I'm very weary of the big influencers promoting cryptos now, because last year, actually, one of my boys got took for over 100K because this guy was like, yeah, we have this major, investment group, blah, blah, blah. You guys put in this money. We're going to buy $1 million worth of SHIB at the time when SHIB was pumping. And what ended up happening was it was a scam link. They sent I think, ETH to that wallet, and it was just completely gone. And that was a huge influencer guy. Had, a couple million followers, and the guy just disappeared off the face of the earth. And I was like, that sucks,
I'll also add that it's there's nothing wrong with playing the play of an influencer as long as you time it right and get out right.
A second, get that.
What did they say? Buy on the rumor, sell on the fact. Is that it?
Yeah, buy the rumor, sell the news.
Yeah, but I would say, Scroop, that because you're experienced, right? And you've been able to take the time to, study that influencer and, figure out what they do. If they pump it, it's going to go up 10% and then you're out, right? But for the new trader that jumps onto the social platform, oh man, this guy's got a ton of followers. He knows what's up. I mean, those are the people that are just getting rugged and bagged left and right.
Yeah,
Look what happened with Cool Monks. It went up to 0.95, and that shit is at 0.39 because it got pumped.
I think it's at 0.5. I do think Cool Monkeys will be a good project if you look at what they're doing behind the scenes. That's the only reason why I even bought in, because listening to the guys talk about what they're actually doing with the project. So I'm hoping that there's a future behind that one. But that's also I learned a lot more in the NFT world than I have in the crypto space, because literally it was just me teaching myself, and then everybody else like a year ago they're selling their classes, which was dumb. Oh, okay, 10-15 grand, we'll teach you what to do, or we'll tell you the signals or the whatever. And I was just like, it's hard for people to really, especially like you said, new people in this space, it's hard for you to learn what to really do on your own.
One of the things sorry, I was going to say, and I know maybe Hawk will share the same sentiment. One of the things that I've always put up as a red flag is if someone says, hey, pay me this X amount of money and I will teach you how to make this much money. Like,
Major red flag.
come on, fool. Like, if you were that good, you wouldn't be asking people to pay you money for your teachings and whatnot. You would be banking off millions of dollars. Like, let's be real here.
You know what's crazy? That shit goes on.
It goes back.
It goes on Instagram so much, and I just be like, I try to tell the people that follow me on Instagram, like, please do not listen to anybody that's on here asking for money. If you need any help, I'm not that knowledgeable, but I'm knowledgeable enough to at least point you in the right direction. So don't pay for none of this knowledge because it's free.
Yep, it goes all the way back to the drop shipping days where people were doing that. And I was teaching people how to do that shit for themselves for free, because at the end of the day, if you're trying to sell this class, you may know the bare necessities of what to get going, get somebody going, and then you just take their money and you're out. And that's what you have to be wary of.
Yes. What's crazy is when I had gotten into stocks, I didn't know what options were, and I wanted to take that, and I was like helping this guy like get more exposure on his account, and he was like super thankful, and I know a couple of you guys know who I'm talking about, and he's like, you know what, I'll give you a class, like, and then I'll give it to you for this price versus this thousands of dollars price, and I'm like, all right. And then I didn't learn one thing. He was just really just scraping off like, okay, let's sign up more people. Let's sign up more people. I'm like, how are you going to do these one-on-one classes? Like, you're spreading yourself so thin, and now we're in a battle of like, hey, give me my money back. Because and then I didn't think about that. Like, if you're so successful at your trades and this and that, why are you so worried about like your memberships and getting like these classes sold when you're doing so well? And a lot of us are spread so thin already, but we're more than willing to teach anybody what we do know. We don't know everything, but the knowledge we do know, we're willing to share for free. Or I'm always like, dude, go to YouTube freaking University right there. And if there's something you don't understand, go ahead and give me a call so I could better explain it. And then we brought up Corey here. What's up, Corey?
What is going on, my dear, dear friends? How are you all doing today?
Doing great. Glad to have you.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks for jumping on.
No, it's my pleasure. I saw it and I'm just like, fuck, I had to jump in here because mind if I grind my gears a little bit?
Grind away.
Okay. First and foremost, there's a lot of people who are talking a lot of stuff about building your brand online. Guys, this is not me shoving any one single person, but just because someone is on stage and says something doesn't make it legit. There's been a lot of people who have been empowered who are just sitting there on stage. They're either social climbing by just being up there and getting followers, or they're talking things that they've been in the industry for 3 months. And I'm not naming names because that's just not me, but I'm gonna say in this industry specifically, guys, fact check the fuck out of everybody. Ask questions, call them on their shit, and ask them what they've done for real, because talk is cheap. And if somebody hasn't really, really been immersed and done stuff, I'm sorry to say it, but spending 10 hours in spaces doesn't make you an expert. And
100%.
it makes me really, really challenged and frustrated when there's a lot of people who are just literally culture vulturing on stage, and they're going by metrics now because they've gotten onto popular stages and they went up to 15, 20,000 followers. People want to bring them up, but they don't know anything. They're just spending time, the hours on there, and it's all optics. So what I'm just saying to you all is, as much as people need to do their due diligence on everything, this is your money. This is your time. Nobody's going to do it for you, but ask the right questions. If something seems stupid, call them out on it. Don't be worried about it because, oh, they have more following. I can tell you now, if anybody DMs me and says they've been bullied off stage, I will personally walk up to that person and call them on their shit. And that's why I've been rugged on the at NFT radio every single time I've gone up there, is because I have zero capacity for garbage looking shilling. I just don't, and I don't care. I have a blue check. Guys, I got it because I was a journalist 6 years ago and it just followed me along, because 3 or 4 years ago, they verified journalists and made sure that it proved that they were legit. It has nothing to do with anything else other than the fact that in the previous life it followed me. I've never worked for a company where I got it for free. I didn't pay for it. It was given to me as a journalist. I've evolved now into a publicist. All I'm asking you guys is to do your fucking diligence. And if you get burned by something, take the responsibility and learn from it. What did you do wrong versus, oh, they fleeced me? You gave them the money. If something seemed off, if you don't do the work and you get fleeced, It's no different than telling a kid not to touch a hot stove when they touch it anyway. You're gonna get burned. You're gonna learn. I've been fleeced. You know what happened? Somebody DM'd me in Discord, and I clicked the link and I sent them $1,000. It could have been worse, but I learned. So I shut off my DMs. Did I take responsibility? Yes. Did I blame a lot of people? Of course I did, because that's what we all do. At the end of the day, we're all adults. We have to be accountable for our decisions.
I swear, bro, you said everything I wish I could have said.
No doubt. He said it so
Real.
good.
Because besides influencers like Christine, I don't believe in none of these people that's on.
Crypt is the biggest with that.
Bro, I'm super big on that. I
The
do
only
not
reason
believe.
why Christine lets me up here on this stuff and her and I have that relationship is because exactly what I just said to you guys. I literally at NFT had a space and I called Jason out and he yelled at me and said, "Don't back me into a corner." And I said, "Dude, stop with the fucking." I didn't say, I was a little more politically correct because I have a company I represent, but I said, "You're asking for things of how you can do things. You guys have a platform where you make a lot of money that you can give back with. You guys are pumping a lot of garbage. So why
Oh
don't you?"
yeah, I got banned for their page for saying the same thing. I'm blocked from them on Instagram because I called them out too. They hit me up, and they wanted $100,000 for promotion on their
And dude,
page. And I said,
I'm not saying they shouldn't, man. Everybody is a media company. You gotta pay sometimes, pay to play. I'm not against that. But if there's real projects, do a fucking Dragon's Den. Let people come up there and pitch their shit to
"Yep,
4,000 people. And if the community decides shit, those motherfuckers are onto something, give them a free post. So that way, every $100,000 you charge other pump and dump scams, there's real projects getting a platform there. Then, you know what? I'd be less harsh on them because everybody needs to make a buck. But when
yep,
you're constantly shilling garbage, licking your own balls, saying, "Ooh, I just spent $4 million on apes. Now let me go into a space and tell people why I did it." Dude, I don't give a fuck. I unfollowed you for a reason. There's people out here who are doing real things, building real products, who do not have the means or capacity to get out there, cannot afford it, and you're giving them a fucking bad name because you're spending shilled money on garbage. Sorry, I get
Glad
angry.
you're calling them out for sure.
I get
oh yeah."
angry.
And
Well, no,
a lot of things too with the influencer spaces. Look at these pages and actually look at their followings and engagement. Make sure their numbers aren't pumped. I noticed that with a lot of these pages, even in the Instagram world, and it's starting to trickle into the Twitter world, where these guys are buying their Twitter follower. They look like they have 40, 50, 60,000 followers, and you can buy a bot for that, and you can buy a bot that can like and retweet all of your posts. And you see posts with 1,000, 2,000 retweets, and you automatically think, "Oh man, this project's going to be huge because they got 2,000 or 10,000 retweets," but it's all botted. So
Has
that's another
anybody
thing
been
where you do your research.
has anybody been promoted the Lucky Goats?
Oh my
So
God, I get
yeah.
that every day.
So the Lucky Goats is a prime example of that. Every day it says, "We're selling out, we're selling out." With all due respect,
0.07.
no. With all due respect, guys, if somebody has to promote that they're selling out, they're not selling out. That's it. Get in while it's hot. I'm
You
telling
know
you.
what's crazy about Corey is we were in a space together and I was like, I like this guy because everybody that had a project, right? And I went up there like, I don't have a project to show you guys or like talk about. I'm just here like I want to learn and then pass down like what I learned, you know, like. But Corey was like every time he's like, your project sounds really good if it is legit. If it really is legit, then I'd love to talk to you about it. But like, and every project was like, it sounds good, but if it's legit, and everyone's like, it is, and I'm like, but he doesn't know that. We all don't know each other, really.
Well,
I mean,
that's the issue
yeah,
that people
always.
pitch with emotional bias. They don't pitch with pragmatic. Like everyone's like, "Well, mine's gonna be the best." Okay, tell me why. And if you can't tell me why it's gonna be the best, you don't know your product well enough, and that's a you problem, not a me problem.
I love your opinionated opinions on here. You don't throw softballs. You whiz them in high and tight, and I appreciate
Listen, I've been doing this for a very long time, and this is again, I'm past the point of sugarcoating shit. When it comes to asking for people's money, which is all NFTs are, it's like penny stocks. You're investing in people's ideas, hoping to God it hits. So if you invest in the wrong one and it goes to zero, that's a you problem because you invested with emotion without researching. But media has a responsibility because something like at NFT, which has millions and millions of followers, has a responsibility to a community. And I understand rappers and this and that and Paris Hilton. Of course they do. They want to go the biggest. I get it. But they have a responsibility to Joe Smith, who's learning to give the proper information and not shill pump and dump scams because they're paying them $100,000 to do it. They have that responsibility. And if no one's going to call them on their shit, I will call them on their shit.
No, I love that, man. It's caution up, cautiously, being very cautious, right, and doing your due diligence. That's something that I speak all the time, right?
I'm
Don't
telling
be
you,
a sheep, don't
no,
blindly
man.
follow.
Can I tell you something? I went into a room and a guy was crying that he his project just wasn't getting eyes, and he explained what it was, and I went in and bought. I don't care where it goes. Don't even look at my wallet. The point is that if I can afford to, if my $100 at 4 in the morning with no gas fees is going to change this person's life, I will help them. I will support them. I'll do their PR for free and do whatever they need to get out there because that's karma. But if there's a project that goes out there, like, again, I hate naming names politically, I'm not that person, but there's a lot of people who come in here to do projects, they make their bag, and then they're out. And that bothers me because there's a lot of people who aren't as informed, who believe in blind ignorance. They see a celebrity, they say, fuck, I want in, and then they take their money and they run. And that kind of shit bothers me. And you know what? It's not the politically correct way to go about it, but sometimes you got to ruffle some feathers.
What's crazy too is I've brought up this same kind of thought process with someone can have the right intention starting a project and wanting to help, and part of it is going to go to charity, and all they want to do is create this project to just help people. It's not about the money, and then the money lands into their account and they just have millions of dollars or whatever it is that they've never had, and all of a sudden they've changed their path and they're like, I'm out, like I don't care about anything I said. And it's crazy because you don't even, a lot of these people don't even know who they are with $1 million in their account, so.
Of course. Look at raunchy rednecks. Nick Small, the 13-year-old kid. Blau discovered it. Blau pumped it. But you know what? I would have done the same thing. I want to promote young artists. The kid's still around. He's joking around at 13 how he was going to use all the ETH that he made to pay for university because it's dropped. He has to do an object because he has no money anymore. But like, that's legit. That isn't a scam. That isn't. That's just plain. That's speaking pragmatically. Frank Dukes dropped. He did his. Oh fuck! I said his name. He did his rebrand. He dropped his stuff, and he went silent. And that kind of shit bothers me because people jumped on board, and it went nowhere. Same with Apes in Space Takeoff. Same with.
Yes.
But at the same time, you can sort of think of the whole NFT market as kind of like us, or the whole community sort of recreating the stock market in the way where like every project is sort of a stock, and each NFT is sort of like a low flow stock, and like floor sweeps in a way. Like we can call it alpha and say it's this cool thing that drives the floor up, but in a way, how different is that than like institutional buyers sort of bidding up or like doing ladder attacks down on like a stock and that sort of thing? And I mean, your other point about how, whether or not people are sort of sharing information in good faith or not, in the public markets, if like Elon tweets about, oh, Tesla is going to get acquired at 420, that's a completely different animal than like some pumper for an NFT saying, oh, our project's going to hit 1 ETH floor, 1.5 ETH floor, that sort of thing. And so I'm not calling for more regulation. I don't know what the right answer is, but like it is fascinating to me at the very least that like this space is, for better or for worse, us recreating the stock market with like virtually no regulation. And so it's empowering in a way, and that the barrier to entry is very low, but like it's also dangerous in a way for like all the things that we've discussed. So
look what happened to weed stocks, man. Everyone pumped into weed. They were hoping to God the U.S. would regulate it and make it legal faster. It didn't. Retail didn't take off like it would, and now it got the market evened itself out. Right now, people are scared with ETH. They're not realizing that a lot of what's going on right now is a lot of the stock boys who made their money are selling, and people who are holding are selling, and we have a lot of things happening very, very soon. There's gonna be a lot of exchanges coming out. I think a lot of people are gonna be they're gonna be forced to sell their apes and CryptoPunks to make some money because, like, it couldn't it's I don't want to call it a bubble, but until there's a little bit more regulation with it. Look, guys, this is not decentralized because they're all hosted on AWS anyway. The point is that we have to make sure that we're looking at it when you're investing in something, you're investing with money you can afford to lose because anything Web3 is a long game. If you want the short game, you buy NFTs and you roll the dice. If you want the long game, you invest in an exchange, in a token, and you say, fuck, this I know is a 3 to 5 year play where if I invest now at 30, 40 cents, hope to God it hits a couple bucks and I've made some bank. Otherwise, the optics are wrong. People, you don't go long into NFTs because NFTs, when it comes to images and PFPs, have a shelf life. You're investing in community. You're not investing in one-off PFP.
Man,
Yeah,
I
I
love
mean, I would think of like each NFT sort of like, or anything in crypto really as sort of like uncovered options. Like it's not something that should dominate your entire portfolio. You have to realize like,
Totally.
there's a very real chance that can go to zero, but there's also this possibility that can get outsized returns too. And like you should like, start investing the same way as like you shouldn't be overexposed to it and it can all go to zero. But like because there's this outsized chance, it's sort of worth it with like a small allocation of like the dollars you have. So yeah, I mean,
No, listen. It's the only time you're going to make dividends off of these NFTs is if you commercialize NFT and you do a long-term commercialization payment. Like people right now who have managers for their apes, that'll start paying dividends because one day there's going to be a royalty rights and they're going to receive money every fucking month because they're allowing somebody to use their image. You know what I mean? That is something. But the anomalies are the cool cats, the CryptoPunks, the Bored Apes. There might be a handful of others that become blue chip. But they aren't going to drop too much, but they are going to drop. And a friend of mine had 15 CryptoPunks still. He sold them all at once. All at once. He made $15 million off of it. And he was joking around with me. He says, the smart people are going to get out very, very soon because there's going to be a market reset. And once crypto goes down, people need to free up some capital because their portfolio is heavy into NFTs, and people aren't going to pay the ludicrous amounts anymore. And you can't buy something hoping to God Adidas or somebody's going to approach you and want yours because celebrities, they aren't the ones buying them. It's their agents, it's somebody in their crew who's buying it on their behalf. They have no idea. So it's knowing a guy who knows a guy. And I want people to be very, very smart. Don't go into anything here that you can't afford to lose. And if you invest and make some real money, invest in the exchanges. Don't invest in NFTs because for the most part, unless you know somebody and there's nepotism there, you're not going to make that big bag like Farouk and them are making.
Very interesting takes. Well, everybody, we're going to wrap up here the Alpha Hour. We've stayed a little bit past an hour today.
Oh,
anyway.
sorry about that.
Oh, hey, no, Corey, you don't need to apologize. I've kept it going longer because it was such an interesting conversation, and I really appreciate your input into here. And also, here's what I like about what Corey brought here at the end is he brings some opinions, and they're opinions that maybe not everybody agrees with, and to me that creates discussion. And I tend to agree with a lot of what he said, but I always like it whenever we don't just get in here and we're all just like, oh yeah, and we're high-fiving each other and chest bumping and saying all the same thing. I never like that. That makes almost like for a boring space. It's much better whenever somebody comes in here that says an opinion that even if it's just, 15% of people may, take the counterpoint to. I always think that's really, good for the space and good for all of us to be able to kind of hear other and all that. And he's right. There are a lot of dangers in the NFT world and the influencer world. And all that he said, he really kind of spelled it out really well. So, all right, guys. I am going to be back here tomorrow with Christine at 7:30 UTC. We will have NF Tuesday, which
his project just wasn't getting eyes, and he explained what it was, and I went in and bought. I don't care where it goes. Don't even look at my wallet. The point is that if I could afford to, if my $100 at 4 in the morning with no gas fees is going to change this person's life, I will help them. I will support them. I'll do their PR for free and do whatever they need to get out there, because that's karma. But if there's a project that goes out there, like, again, I hate naming names politically, I'm not that person, but there's a lot of people who come in here to do projects, they make their bag, and then they're out. And that bothers me, because there's a lot of people who aren't as informed, who believe with blind ignorance. They see a celebrity, they say, fuck, I want in, and then they take their money and they run. And that kind of shit bothers me. And you know what? It's not the politically correct way to go about it, but sometimes you got to ruffle some feathers.
What's crazy too is I've brought up this same kind of thought process with someone can have the right intention starting a project and wanting to help, and part of it is going to go to charity, and all they want to do is create this project to just help people. It's not about the money, and then the money lands into their account and they just have millions of dollars or whatever it is that they've never had, and all of a sudden they've changed their path and they're like, I'm out, like I don't care about anything I said. And it's crazy because a lot of these people don't even know who they are with $1 million in their account, so.
Of course. Look at raunchy rednecks. Nick Small. A 13-year-old kid, Blau discovered it, Blau pumped it. But you know what? I would have done the same thing. I want to promote young artists. The kid's still around. He's joking around at 13 how he was going to use all the ETH that he made to pay for university because it's dropped. He has to do another project because he has no money anymore. But like, that's legit. That isn't a scam. That isn't, that's just plain, that's speaking pragmatically. Frank Dukes he did his, oh fuck, I said his name. He did his rebrand. He dropped his stuff and he went silent. And that kind of shit bothers me because people jumped on board and it went nowhere. Same with Apes in Space, Takeoff. Same with,
Yes.
But at the same time, you can sort of think of the whole NFT market as kind of like us, or the whole community sort of recreating the stock market in the way where like every project is sort of a stock, and each NFT is sort of like a low flow stock, and like floor sweeps in a way. Like we can call it alpha and say it's this cool thing that drives the floor up, but in a way, how different is that than like institutional buyers sort of bidding up or like doing ladder attacks down on like a stock and that sort of thing? And I mean, your other point about how, whether or not people are sort of sharing information in good faith or not, in the public markets, if like Elon tweets about, oh, Tesla is going to get acquired at 420, that's a completely different animal than like some pumper for an NFT saying, oh, our project's going to hit 1 ETH floor, 1.5 ETH floor, that sort of thing. And so I'm not calling for more regulation. I don't know what the right answer is, but like it is fascinating to me at the very least that like this space is, for better or for worse, us recreating the stock market with like virtually no regulation. And so it's empowering in a way, and that the barrier to entry is very low, but like it's also dangerous in a way for like all the things that we've discussed. So
look what happened to weed stocks, man. Everyone pumped into weed. They were hoping to God the U.S. would regulate it and make it legal faster. It didn't. Retail didn't take off like it would, and now it got the market evened itself out. Right now, people are scared with ETH. They're not realizing that a lot of what's going on right now is a lot of the stock boys who made their money are selling, and people who are holding are selling, and we have a lot of things happening very, very soon. There's gonna be a lot of exchanges coming out. I think a lot of people are gonna be they're gonna be forced to sell their apes and CryptoPunks to make some money because, like, it's I don't want to call it a bubble, but until there's a little bit more regulation with it, look, guys, this is not decentralized because they're all hosted on AWS anyway. The point is that we have to make sure that we're looking at it when you're investing in something, you're investing with money you can afford to lose because anything Web3 is a long game. If you want the short game, you buy NFTs and you roll the dice. If you want the long game, you invest in an exchange, in a token, and you say, fuck, this I know is a 3 to 5 year play where if I invest now at 30, 40 cents, hope to God it hits a couple bucks and I've made some bank. Otherwise, the optics are wrong. You don't go long into NFTs because NFTs, when it comes to images and PFPs, have a shelf life. You're investing in community. You're not investing in one-off PFP.
Man, I would think of like each NFT sort of like, or anything in crypto really as sort of like uncovered options. Like it's not something that should dominate your entire portfolio. You have to realize like, there's a very real chance that can go to zero, but there's also this possibility that can get outsized returns too. And like you should start investing the same way as like you shouldn't be overexposed to it and it can all go to zero. But like because there's this outsized chance, it's sort of worth it with like a small allocation of like the dollars you have. So yeah, I mean.
No, listen. The only time you're gonna make dividends off of these NFTs is if you commercialize NFT and you do a long-term commercialization payment. Like people right now who have managers for their apes, that'll start paying dividends because one day there's going to be a royalty rights and they're going to receive money every fucking month because they're allowing somebody to use their image. You know what I mean? That is something. But the anomalies are the cool cats, the CryptoPunks, the Bored Apes. There might be a handful of others that become blue chip. They aren't going to drop too much, but they are going to drop. And a friend of mine had 15 CryptoPunks though. He sold them all at once. All at once. He made $15 million off of it. And he was joking around with me. He says, the smart people are going to get out very, very soon because there's going to be a market reset. And once crypto goes down, people need to free up some capital because their portfolio is heavy, heavy, heavy into NFTs, and people aren't going to pay the ludicrous amounts anymore. And you can't buy something hoping to God Adidas or somebody's going to approach you and want yours because celebrities, they aren't the ones buying them. it's their agents, it's somebody in their crew who's buying it on their behalf. They have no idea. So it's knowing a guy who knows a guy. And I want people to be very, very smart. Don't go into anything here that you can't afford to lose. And if you invest and make some real money, invest in the exchanges. Don't invest in NFTs because, for the most part, unless you know somebody and there's nepotism there, you're not going to make that big bag like Farouk and them are making.
Very interesting takes. Well, everybody, we're going to wrap up here the Alpha Hour. We've stayed a little bit past an hour today.
I'm
Anyway.
sorry about that.
Oh, hey, no, Corey, you don't need to apologize. I've kept it going longer because it was such an interesting conversation, and I really appreciate your input into here. And also, here's what I like about what Corey brought here at the end is he brings some opinions, and they're opinions that maybe not everybody agrees with, and to me that creates discussion. And I tend to agree with a lot of what he said, but I always like it whenever we don't just get in here and we're all just like, oh yeah, and we're high-fiving each other and chest bumping and saying all the same thing. I never like that. That makes almost like for a boring space. It's much better whenever somebody comes in here that says an opinion that even if it's just, 15% of people may, take the counterpoint to. I always think that's really, good for the space and good for all of us to be able to kind of hear other and all that. And he's right. There are a lot of dangers in the NFT world and the influencer world. And all that he said, he really kind of spelled it out really well. So, all right, guys. I am going to be back here tomorrow with Christine at 7:30 UTC. We will have NF Tuesday, which of course we'll talk about some NFTs. Market up, market down, doesn't really matter. We will talk NFTs tomorrow. So until next time, you can find me at Voice of DeFi and of course for Christine Barnum. Until next time, we'll see you tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
Fucking love you, Corey.